But, Paul, did the voters get it right?
The voters got it right, Joy, because, listen, while our colleague and friend tried to sabotage the vote and not give Shai his vote and voted for Joker, yeah, we're going to put it on national TV. You did not vote for the real MVP. Thank God they got it right this year.
Yes.
I'm telling you, and Shai has proven it all year long. This is a regular season award. I don't understand why they waited so long to announce it. And he's done nothing but go out and prove it throughout these playoffs why he's been the best player all year on the best team. And I'm glad that he got it. And hopefully they'll give it to him game 2 so he can go out there and raise it in front of his home crowd and he can get his flowers and rightfully deserve.
Rick, when did you guys have to actually turn in the ballot? How long ago?
It was a little weird this year in that normally it's within like 48 hours after the regular season ends. But because now that they have this 65-game minimum requirement, they were like, we'll let you know when you can vote. And then you had like 12 hours to fill out your ballot. It was very weird.
You could have, some people probably voted into the postseason?
No. No games were started before we voted for the regular season.
We don't need a recount.
Do we have a final count?
What's that?
We don't need a recount.
I don't think we need a recount.
Yeah.
Although I think there were a number of people who, at one point during the playoffs, Paul included, would have said it was Nikola Jokic that deserved this.
Well, look, I think we can say it was very close. Obviously, no one's going to argue that.
I'm sure that it will be the
did
final
not have
vote.
an MVP level season. He absolutely did.
Yep.
But you didn't get it right. But did they get it right?
Oh, I think I got it right.
So you do think you got it right?
When it comes to history, when we look back at this season,
yeah, for sure.
I believe that people are going to look at it and go, wait a minute, how did Nikola Jokic not? He averaged a triple-double.
100%.
They were the record that they had, the players that they had. How did he not win based on what SGA had and did? So, look.
If SGA goes on and wins the NBA title, nobody's even thinking about it.
It's going to look better. It's going to look. It will look better.
Because the guy who won the NBA title won the MVP, where a guy who should have won the MVP based on your voting is sitting at home getting ready to drink up on some beers.
But it's optics.
Right.
It's optics.
What's
because
the
the reality is because it's a regular season award.
I understand.
So winning the title means nothing in terms of who was deserving
you know
of
why?
the MVP.
You know why? Because it's going to validate and put a stamp of approval on that particular person who wins the MVP. That's just me. Because if you're winning the MVP, your team probably should be in the NBA Finals if you win in the MVP.
But we only think that because the NBA takes so long to announce.
And that may be true.
If this was announced weeks ago,
we wouldn't be
as soon
having
as
this
the regular
conversation.
season was over, maybe we would carry it at some point through the postseason, but it would not linger over the conversation and it wouldn't feel pertinent to the award. I actually think it takes away from the award that we wait so long because there's no way, it's just human nature that we're watching and seeing the most important time of the year play out and not think about whether this person should be the MVP or not. But it is a regular season award. Or just make it an entire season award and include the postseason.
Yeah. The fact that it was several days after Denver got knocked out was a clear sign that Jokic had not won it because you know that he's already back home racing horses again. There was no way that he was sticking around a couple days in order to receive the award.
He's on some brews right now.
Did you at all, and then I know Joy's got to get us moving, but at all, did you ever think that if SGA didn't win it and you was like the tiebreaker in the situation because you picked him in the number 2 slot? Yeah. Did you ever think like, oh, man, it might be on me?
Well, I would be glad if it was on me. But I didn't have any questions about my choice. And I was happy with SGA being second. Yeah. And over the years, over the years, the voting has been skewed because we will have somebody who wins, like a Joel Embiid or Jokic, whoever it is. A Steve Nash wins 2 in a row. And that third year, it's like, we can't vote for him again. Even though he had a better year that third year, it becomes almost we're looking at the narrative in the big picture as the explanation as to why we would vote, instead of simply looking at the season and the season the candidates had and who is most responsible for their team having the year that they had. And that's the distinction for me. Nikola Jokic had more to do with what the Denver Nuggets were able to accomplish than SGA. He provided a bigger piece of the pie, in my estimation.
Do they get it right?
I think they got it. I got a question. Who votes?
There's
Outside
100,
of, like, how
100
many?
media members.
100 media members, and that's it?
Yes.
Man,
But ex-players that are in the media too, though, right?
Former players.
Or that's what I mean.
I
Ex-players,
truly
former
believe
players.
they should allow current players and coaches to vote on this award. Because the players is going to tell it like it is.
No,
And
that's not true.
I think
We've
so.
seen that in
I
all-star
think so.
voting. Have you
I
ever
think
seen the? Have you ever seen the
All-Star-
votes? The players. Some players don't take the
Didn't-
voting for All-Star seriously at all.
But for MVP,
Wasn't there a poll of players that voted
There-
Halliburton overrated?
For a hot minute, they had players selecting at the end of the year, and it became very controversial.
Yeah.
They were picking their MVPs, and one year I think they picked Harden over Curry, and it became such an issue, and the players were so sensitive to it that they did away with it. Now they
Harden
have
over
different
Curry for
titles for
MVP?
it. What's that?
You said Harden over?
Harden. They picked the players. Harden overwhelmingly over Steph Curry.
I mean, you got to understand, Harden had like a 5-year run where he could have won MVP.
I'm not arguing. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but that wouldn't have been the wrong thing. Just like if Nikola Jokic had won it this year, it wouldn't have been wrong. You know what I'm saying? We don't.
Yeah, to be fair, like I'm not upset that SGA won. I mean, he
of
was
course
number
not.
2 on my
No,
ballot.
of course
It's not
not.
like I'm thinking, oh my God, they got it wrong.
Well, it was a 2-man race, man.
That's not who I had there.
So number
Yeah,
2 on your
two-man
ballot.
race.
Do you think
but we
the
got to put
voters
5
got it
names on
right,
the ballot.
Do you think the voters got it right?
Yeah, I do, absolutely. Because, again, like he was talking about the Steve Nash situation, sometimes you do get a little fatigue, and I understand that Joker is the guy on his team, and Denver wouldn't be nowhere near close to what they were this year without him. I feel the same way about SGA. If he wasn't doing what he was doing for OKC, they wouldn't be sitting in the Western Conference Final right now.
I also struggle with the considering the cast around them too much. Like, I don't think that should be the overwhelming slice of the pie when you're talking about the MVP. I don't think that it doesn't matter, but I do not think that a great player should get penalized for having a good roster.
No, for sure. And this is probably the biggest issue, is that the league purposely, so that we have conversations like this, has never defined what MVP means. You know, what it is. If they said it's the most outstanding player, or they said it's the best player on a top, you know, people kind of come up with their own definition of it.
Yeah.
Most indispensable, greatest. But, like, you can kind of look at it through different prisms and vote. And
Well, I think each year has a different narrative also.
that too. But as a result, like, every year, we kind of, you can, you know, like Russell Westbrook winning one year, right? Because he was the triple-double king on a team that finished 5th or 6th, right?
Right, but at the time, what he had done was incredibly historic.
It was historic, right? But generally, people have looked at MVP as you're picking, and I think historically you will look at it like they come from one of the top 2 or 3 teams
As it
in
should.
the league.
As it should.
See, and
Except Westbrook, like you said, knocked the thing out the park that we've never seen before. And so he gets my vote because he's done something that we've never seen.
But then after the fact, he goes on and he doesn't do a whole lot in the postseason.
But I wasn't
or the following
expecting. I
year.
wasn't expecting him to.
Understood, but people then look back at that MVP and go, "Oh, well, did they get it
But
right?"
it's
No,
not-
no, they
it's
got
not
it right.
a postseason award.
They got it right. Triple-double
What?
king. They got it
It's
right.
not a postseason award.
No, I understand. Believe me, I understand that more than anything because
Well, but because of that also, that's another reason why I feel like the voters got it right, because they were far and away the best team.
they were.
The best team with the best player, and they're in the best team with the best player, and they're in the Western Conference
See, I
Finals.
can't go that far. Like, to say that
But even if
SGA was the best player in the league, I'm not.
He was the most valuable player.
Well, he is now, but I the best all-around
mean
player.
now?
Between him and
He was the.
If you were-
Do you know what MVP
If you were
means?
starting,
Most
no, here's my
valuable
point.
Player.
If you were starting a franchise,
No,
if
I'm
you were
not
starting a
picking him.
franchise-
No,
Well, then he's not the best player.
No.
Nobody said he's the best player. He's
that's
the
the
most
most
valuable.
valuable.
So they should come out with a best player award?
Joey, can we go on?
Yeah, because you're getting hit from left to right. I would want to go on too. So the bam, 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 bam.
getting to last night's Western Conference Finals.
Buckle.
Not the buckle. The Thunder were down 4 points at halftime, but turned it up in the second half. Shai, the MVP, led the charge with 20 points in the half. The Thunder outscored the Timberwolves by 30 in the second half and shot 61% from three.
Ooh.
Yes. Paul, what did the Thunder prove in their dominant second half?
Man, they proved to me that they are the team to beat. They really did, because I'm looking at the spurt ability of this team, the way it just looks like they're giving me a Golden State kind of feel. Like the last Golden State championship in 16-17, I believe, where it was just like at any given moment you feel like they was going to blow the game open. It was just like they're going to have a run at some point. And that's what I'm seeing from this team. It's like when they beat Denver by 40 points in Game 2. They beat Denver by 35 in Game 7. Then they come out here, it's a close game, and then they break the game open. And it's like, oh, well, it's over. They start causing turnovers. The crowd gets into the game, and you just feel at some point in the game that they're going to break it open. But listen, this is who they've been throughout the course of the season. They set a record for point differential during the season with plus 12, I believe. They outscored their opponents by 12. In the playoffs now, after the last game, they're outscoring their opponents by 14 a game. That's insane. I've never heard of this. On average, the thing about the Thunder, you have to find a way to keep it close. In games decided by 5 points or less, I think they have 2 wins, 3 losses. And that's the key. You have to wither that storm, because at some point they're going to get a lead. And if you can wither that storm, you got a chance. But they just showed me they're just the team to beat. And I'm seeing it consistently, night in, night out. And on a night where Shai doesn't really shoot the ball very well. So.
Yeah, and the thing they proved to me is I picked the wrong team. I got caught up in the hype. You know, Ant-Man. The Ant-Man got me, man. When I saw him walking through the city of L.A., on the video we showed, he just got me. It was like, okay, he getting ready to go out there and do what he needs to do, but it didn't happen that way. So you look at both sides of the equation. First half, obviously, OKC struggled to a degree, and then the second half, they just poured it on, and Minnesota couldn't knock down a shot. They couldn't do anything that even gave me a slight of hope that they would even be able to make this thing a serious run. And now that I'm looking at it, I got to get off the Minnesota bandwagon and jump on OKC's bandwagon. As much as I would love to see Minnesota in the final against the Knicks, it just doesn't feel, based on yesterday, Rick, that is what we're going to see. Yeah, no. Because I don't think they're going to beat them in the second game at home either. And now you're going back to Minnesota down 2-0, and if they steal one in Minnesota, you might as well call it a good night.
And they like to say defense travels, and that's what the Oklahoma City Thunder hang their hat on. No, for me, they
get rid of Caruso, man. Never mind, but go ahead.
Somehow we had to get it back to the Lakers.
Man.
Somehow, some way, all roads lead back to the Lakers.
Start knocking down threes, playing defense,
He don't miss.
He don't miss. Yeah. And I'm like,
both ends of the court.
What made us decide that wasn't good enough for us?
Yeah, didn't want to pay him.
Yep.
No, they proved that when they play anything close to their best offensively, the Timberwolves simply don't have an answer for that. And I think that that unlike the Timberwolves, their defense and their defense of intensity is not predicated on their offense. They are going to play defense hard no matter what. That is built into how they play. And then they proved that we're probably in for another gentleman's sweep at best, because this is what I struggled with Minnesota going into the series and in their previous series, is that I looked at them against the Lakers and I looked at them against the Warriors. I'm like, they're the most talented team. And on paper, when I look at Minnesota, this should be a tooth and nail battle because of talent.
But
right?
you're getting nothing out of your center, though, in Minnesota. You're getting nothing out of him.
I didn't get anything out of Ant Edwards. I didn't get anything out of my best player, or at least not nearly enough. And the problem that I saw through those first two series was they're only focused 38, 39 minutes a game. And then there's like 9 minutes of basketball where things just go haywire. They're turning the ball over. The rotations are slow. They're missing assignments. Like, all that happens. And I'm thinking, OKC, the reason they blew everybody out all year long is because they never let go of the rope no matter what the score is. And so they're always going to keep their foot on the pedal. And that's watching the game last night. Like, even though Minnesota was ahead early and everything, and OKC's missing shots, I was just waiting. I was just waiting for Minnesota to kind of exhale, take a breath, and then here comes Oklahoma City. And then because they don't stop. And Minnesota does. And I don't know that you can develop that ability to play hard for 48 minutes if you haven't been doing it all along.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Thunder looked like they're supposed to look as the #1 seed in Game 1 at home. You know, I don't know that I'm bailing on the series necessarily, just off of that. You're out? You're out? Okay. I still think it's going to go 7, but I'm not surprised.
I hope you're right, but
I'm not surprised by that second half.
Yeah.
I think we got a little shook by the series going long. This is what they're supposed to look like. They're the #1 seed. They've got the MVP. They're at home. They're any kind of momentum shift, a team like them, to your point, is going to go on a run.
Yeah.
And you're at home. It should look crisp. It should look clean. They should have less turnovers. They should be able to knock their shots down. So I don't want to overreact too much to it because I think that's what it should have looked like in the second half. You're absolutely right. If the Timberwolves are going to do anything in this series, they have to keep it close. But you knew that.
Yeah.
Once they get ahead, they're not a team that lets you back in. They're not.
I watched
They're
them.
not the Celtics.
No,
I didn't say that.
No, listen, I watched them, man. I promise you. I'm like, they look like a team. So last year they was the #1 seed. A lot of people don't even remember that. They won it by the last game of the season.
Yep.
I think
it was very close.
Denver lost to the Spurs or something like that
Yep.
happened. They playing like a team like felt like they should have won it last year.
Yeah.
It looks like they're playing like we left something on the table.
Mm-hmm.
They look how the Celtics looked last year. Like a team that's like, hey, remember the Celtics was blowing everybody out and they like something to prove. They like, listen, our time is now. And you see it, them young boys, man, this could be, if they win it this year and pay close attention, this could be a making of a dynasty. If they win this one, because they got young pieces, you got a top 5 player, an MVP, and do you see the camaraderie with them? That's what I love about them.
Yeah.
When SGA get interviewed after the game, they all behind
there. Yep.
You know that, and you don't really like
chemistry.
their chemistry is, and this is a team that you can see playing like this. Because now I look at the 4 teams left. Think about what you've seen Minnesota at their best, right? It's pretty good. Knicks, Pacers, pretty good at their best. No team matches them at their best.
Yeah. Yep.
You know what I'm saying? It's not even close. When OKC at their best, from what I see, it's way better than everybody left.
The one exception, and Denver showed it, and you brought it up, is the fact that if you can get them and it's a lack of experience in last possession games.
Yeah.
Like, they just don't have the experience. And I saw them grow in that because they ended up winning a game like that against Denver in that series. So they're starting to get it. And once they get that, then it's a wrap.
Oh, my goodness.
Not the buckle.
Not the buckle.
Looking at the Timberwolves side, they did have that 4-point lead at the half and led by as many as 9 at one point. They also forced Shai to have a bad night shooting, going 10 of 27 from the floor, but it wasn't enough for the upset win. I don't really think they were ever in control of that game. Like
Minnesota?
Yeah, a 9-point lead to me, like that's cute, but this is the Thunder in the Western Conference Finals. There was never a point where I was like, oh, this is getting away from the Thunder. But do you think the Timberwolves wasted their chance at stealing one in OKC, Rick?
I do think that they did because, and Shai mentioned it afterward. He said, you know, in spite of the fact that they had more time off than we did, we came out kind of rusty. And you got a 2 for 13 out of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in the first half. You got Isaiah Hartenstein with 3 fouls. You had Julius Randle looking like all-NBA first team, looking like I had hoped Anthony Edwards would look in terms of 20 points in the first half. And so, yeah, the 9-point lead wasn't big enough, but for the way that Oklahoma City was shooting and playing offensively, you would have liked to have seen that 17, 18, or 19. And Minnesota simply couldn't expand it to that point. So I feel like if they were going to get a game, it was that first game.
Yeah, they're not going to get the second game either. And a lot of it, in my opinion, is that OKC came out slower, a little rusty, whatever the case is, and they turned things on. late in the second half, they know that now. So those adjustments will be made so that they don't come back out the second game with the same sort of feeling and whatnot. In terms of Julius Randle, it's almost like they forgot that he had a terrific first half.
Yeah.
He had a
It was
great
like they
first half.
decided to say, okay, get the ball out of your hands and let somebody else do it. Although they shot, what was it? They shot 51 threes and only made 12 of them.
Yep.
Shot like 28% from three,
Yep.
something like that. I mean, that's like, at some point, like we like to say, don't you realize you're missing them and try something else? Because OKC...
I feel like that's the statement of this postseason.
Yeah, they all watching
You're
Boston.
not hitting your threes.
They was watching
We
Boston.
might want to go to
Try
something else.
else.
Yeah, because even though OKC took less shots from the three, they hit 51% of theirs, and they let the right people like Caruso pull the trigger on them, not just letting anybody out there shoot them.
What do you think? Another
Yeah.
chance?
Well, when I look at a blown chance, I look at it as a close game. Like, I mean, they got out of hand in the fourth play. Because, like, when you go back and be like, damn, we should have got that game. You know, that's like, damn, like that's a one-possession game where you had an
we were in it
opportunity.
at the end.
Yeah, we were in it at the end. So it wasn't a waste. And the beauty about this, you got another game to try to get home court advantage. And so usually teams fight back and play better. But I just don't see it because when I look at the statistics, they beat them at every aspect of the game. I'm talking about they out-rebounded them. They out-passed them.
Look at the assists.
That's what I'm saying, the assists, 27-18. They outshot them. At every aspect of the game, they beat them in. So I'm like, when I look at the game, I'm trying to figure out what adjustments is Minnesota going to make? Yeah, Ant-Man has to be aggressive in the fourth quarter. He can't just not have zero points.
Not just the fourth quarter. He's got to attack.
He has to set the tone. I love the thing is Randle did set the tone, and I was like, okay, that was great. But throughout the game, I need to have Ant-Man's presence all throughout the game. You got to understand, listen, this is the conference finals. This is them. OKC know everything about you. They didn't watch you over the first two rounds. This is where your stars become superstars.
It's the same sort of thing I think he did in the last series, was game maybe 2, when Coach kind of got on his little rear end or whatnot. He took 8 shots he only had 13 shots, but 8 of them came from 3. So that's telling me right there he's not being aggressive and he's settling for whatever reason.
Yeah, he certainly needs to be more aggressive. They could do better than 5 of 28 from 3 from their bench also. Not helpful. Everybody's spooked, huh? Everybody's off. Everybody's off the Timberwolves. It's going to be a nice little
Man,
I'm a front
I don't
runner.
want to be.
I'm saying, when you come out, Joy, you get the buckle out the gate.
Yeah.
Not the buckle. Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak, and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.